Livescope is banned in the NPFL. We're going to talk about that today, but I want to do it slightly differently because there's lots of videos, there's lots of content around this decision, but I don't want to talk about forward-facing sonar itself, rather what this decision means for both the NPFL and the other leagues in existence. Let's start with the press release from the NPFL. First, the issue is complex and compounded by the fact that it elicits an emotional response from many. Second, for rational discussion and decision-making, it's helpful to remove as much emotion from the process as possible. Third, there are serious policy and business ramifications associated with taking any position on this technology. Finally, there is no way to make every stakeholder happy where a technology policy is concerned. For what it's worth, I enjoy using forward-facing sonar in my personal fishing. Our concern at the NPFL is whether it's a proper tool for competitive bass fishing. Every sport has equipment rules. Tournament bass fishing is not different from these other sports in its need to protect the integrity and appeal of the game. At NPFL, we do not want competitive bass fishing to become a technology arms race where anglers stare at a screen, targeting pixels and losing their connection to the fish we love so much. Forward-facing sonar is changing the ways that anglers approach competition and the way that fans consume the content. It is also reducing the methods and baits that anglers use to compete. Our sport is too important and too diverse to allow technology to shrink to a handful of methods and tackle. Starting with the 2025 season, the NPFL will prohibit the use of real-time imaging units, commonly referred to as live forward-facing sonar, during both official practice and competition. Other sonar, e.g. 2D, side imaging, 360 et al., will continue to be permitted. That is the decision. Again, not to get into the pros and cons of forward-facing sonar and that discussion, but let's talk about what this means for NPFL. NPFL, if we're being honest, is the smallest of the three major leagues of competitive bass fishing in the United States. It's the least funded and the least sponsored. Also probably the least watched. This is a good decision for them from a realpolitik perspective. Why? Number one, they get first mover advantage. The big leagues are over there figuring out what to do. The NPFL moved first. They drew a line in the sand and said, this is who we are and this is what we are going to do for 2025. That's a big deal. They're smaller and they moved before everyone else did. They get that headline. That's a great move, very smart on their behalf. Number two, it's definitive. Like I said, they drew a line in the sand. They weren't wishy-washy, they didn't do a partial ban or some type of limit. They went all the way. They said that at NPFL, this is a place you come to fish without that technology, and this is a place where you watch fishing without that technology. That's a big deal as well. That decision might serve to get some anglers over to their side that already have name recognition. They might attract talent that brings with it an audience. That's a big deal. There are anglers out there who do not want to fish using this technology, but feel they have to compete. Finally, what does this do for NPFL? They are at the forefront of a decision that is going to affect fishing for a very long time. I already said they moved first. I already said that they drew a line in the sand. They will always have that historic bookmark that says, when a decision was to be made, NPFL made it, and they made it first. They made it definitively, and they stood on it. Let's see what happens. Does it attract talent? Does it attract more viewership? Does it attract more sponsorship? Only time will tell. But this is getting interesting.